Good morning, students. Now you are in second year. In this second year, you are given the syllabus to study about sociology of Indian society. Now this sociology of Indian society, in which what we have to study by being Indians, that question may arise. But we being Indians, we should know at first about our own society called Indian society, and unless we know about our society, how can we try to understand about other societies than our Indian society? So that idea keeping in mind, this syllabus is given for us. Now Indian society, it has got very long history, and it has got somewhat 5,000 years cultural heritage. In these long 5,000 years cultural heritage, good lot of immigrants, different ethnic groups, religious groups, linguistic groups, and other groups which are all entered into Indian society. These groups have their own influence on us who are called Indians. At the same time, we can find this Indian society, which is a diversified society, and it is not a unified society. Diversified in the sense, lot of diversity is what we can find among the people. Here we can find food gatherers, primitive hunters, businessmen, traders, cultivators, shifting cultivators, and nomads, and such other groups who are all found in India, who differ in different respects in their nature, in their culture, in their language, in their behavior, in their food habits, in their dress habits, etc., etc. So these differences which make the people to try to have exchange of things and exchange of their culture and other things. So in the present Indian society, we can find different ethnic groups, like different ethnic groups, religious groups, linguistic groups, and such other things. So here in India, we can find the different religious groups like Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, Zoroastrianism, and the Judaism, which are the major religious groups what are found in India, what are found in the world, which are all found in India. In India, though it is called a Hindu society, we are all not Hindus. Here we can find with Hinduism the other religious groups also, and therefore it is a diversified society. And people of Indian society also differ in their in their economic and other aspects. At the same time, we can find modern academic, bureaucratic, industrial, scientific elites who are also found in India. So because of all these, the Indian social setup, which has got its own way and its own modernity. So here, to try to know about Indian society, we have to go through the racial groups what are given for us. Here, races. Indian society or in India, there are different races which are found. Here the races have been classified it into different categories by different anthropologists and sociologists. Among them, the racial classification which is done by a famous, well-known anthropologist was called B.S. Guha, which was considered as authoritarian, and that is given for us for our study. Now, what is a race? Before going to discuss about different races, we should know what is a race. A race is genetically transmitted physical characteristics of different groups. So based on these different physical characteristics, the people who are classified it into different groups which are considered as the races. These physical characteristics which differ from one group to other, which one race to other. So by keeping that characteristics or those characteristics, Guha has classified the races into 6 types. Accordingly, we find here the Negritos, Proto-Australoid, Mongoloid, Mediterranean, Western Brachycephals and the Nordics are the 6 major racial classification as per B.S. Guha. So now let us go through these one by one. Now first, the Negritos. Negritos. This group, which is having the elements found among the tribal groups called Kadars, Irula, Paniyan of South India, and the Onges and Andamanis of Andaman Island, and the Angami Nagas and Bagadi tribals of Rajamahal Hills represent the characteristics of these Negrito tribals. So in these groups, the Negrito tribal characteristics what are found, they have the characteristics like broad head and broad nose, black complexion, bold lips and medium stature. Broad head, broad nose, black complexion, bold lips, lips are bold, and their stature is somewhat straight, somewhat medium stature, medium stature. So like this, these characteristics what are imbibed by these Negritos. Based on these characteristics, the first Negrito race what has been identified by B.S. Guha. Then come to second, the Proto-Australoids. 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 These Proto-Australoids found among the tribals of central India such as Mundas, Kols, Santals, Bills, Kurumbas, Eruvas, etc. etc. The Indo-Aryans used to describe these people by the derogatory terms like Anas, Dasa, Dasyu and Nishad. In the sense, Indo-Aryans used to try to neglect or try to look down upon this. So because of this, they used to try to represent, try to use the terms like Anas, Dasa, Dasyu and Nishad. So like this, they are identified by Indo-Aryans. So they have the characteristics like dark brown to black complexion, long head, flat nose, curly hair and short stature. Dark brown to black complexion, neither black nor brown, which means somewhat called Krishna Varna. It is called Krishna Varna. So such a color what they have got a flat nose, then curly hair. We can find hair, different type of hair, long hair, curly hair, scanty hair, but these people represent curly hair, and their stature, physical stature is short, neither tall nor medium but short. They looks like short, and they are found in Madhya Pradesh, Orissa, Chota Nagpur and parts of Tamil Nadu. The members of these Proto-Australoid races are found. Then come to third, Mongoloid. This Mongoloid group, which is subdivided into two categories. One is Paleo-Mongoloid, another one is Tibeto-Mongoloid. The people of this race residing in Himalayan region and in a northeastern region. The non-tribal population of eastern states like Assam, Bengal, Manipura, Tripura also represent the elements of this race. And they have yellow skin, flat face with prominent cheeks and scanty hair on their face and body. See here, these people are having scanty hair, then they have got yellow skin, then nose will be flat with prominent cheeks, or in other words, somewhat attractive cheeks. So these characteristics what are imbibed by these Mongoloids. Then these three above categories, according to Guha, which are older residents, in the sense they have long past, they have entered into Indian society long past, and the remaining other three called Mediterranean, Western Brachycephals and the Northeast, which are in India on later stages. So these three which are entered India in the long past, and remaining the three, 4th, 5th and 6th, which are entered in the later stages. Now let us go through the next. Number 4, here the Mediterraneans. Now here, under these Mediterraneans once again, we can find 3 subdivisions: Paleo-Mediterranean, Mediterranean and Oriental type. See once again, here in this we can find 3 subdivisions. Under Mongoloid there are 2 subdivisions: Paleo-Mongoloid, Tibeto-Mongoloid. But here 3 categories: Paleo-Mediterranean, Mediterranean and Oriental type. Of these 3 divisions, Mediterraneans contributed much to the Indian culture. They are associated with Dravidian languages and culture. These groups represent the Telugu and Tamil Brahmins of Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. They are found good in number in central belt of India, from Gujarat to Madhya Pradesh and down to Bengal. In these areas, the members of this race, Mediterraneans, who are found. They have got dark skin, long head, narrow face, broad nose and medium stature. So these people are having these characteristics. Then come to 5th, Western Brachycephals. Western Brachycephals. Here also there are 3 subdivisions called Alphinoid, Armenoid and Dinaric. So Guha has classified these Western Brachycephals into 3 subgroups once again: Alphinoid, Armenoid and Dinaric. It is believed that this group came to India from the west. Alphinoid and Dinaric characteristics are seen in some groups of North and Western India. The Parsis belongs to this Armenoid race. They represent broad head and long nose and medium stature. Broad head, long nose and medium stature. Neither short nor tall, but medium stature. And the 6th one, Nordics. Nordics is the 6th race, what is identified by B.S. Guha, and these Nordics, the major groups come to India. The Nordics were the last major group which is entered India, and they are described as Aryans and Sanskrit speaking people. They are characterized by tall stature, long head, fair skin, scanty hair and blue eyes. So these characteristics what are embodied by this Nordics race. So like this here, there are 6 major racial groups what are identified by B.S. Guha who are found in India. So according to Guha's classification, these 6 groups are found. But whatever the classification is done by B.S. Guha, the characteristics what are explained, these characteristics sometimes we find overlapping. And because of that, the clear-cut classification of races, it may be somewhat difficult task. Anyhow, these classifications have been done by B.S. Guha. Now, the origin of Indian civilization. How this Indian civilization has originated, when it has originated, or in what way it has originated. The historians of the modern period and archaeological inscriptions, whatever that are available, according to them, this Indian society is originated somewhat 3000 BC, as old as 3000 BC. And according to the archaeological inscriptions, it is said that around 3000 BC, a well-developed civilization had flourished on the banks of river Ganga and Sindhu. This is popularly called as Indus Valley civilization. Archaeological discoveries of the present period established the view that this Indus Valley civilization was spread all the parts of India, and it is firmly believed that this Indus Valley civilization from which this Indian civilization might have been originated. So it is under still confusion. It is not authentic, but it is believed. It is ascertained based on the available records, either historical or archaeological evidences. So therefore, this Indian society has got this type of historical background. Now, the process of Aryanization. Next, process of Aryanization. What is called the process of Aryanization? When Aryans entered India, they preferred to settle down in rural areas, and they are cattle breeders. Their main occupation was cattle breeding. Gradually, they have started to try to shift from cattle breeding to agriculture and other occupations, because they were interested, they were attracted by looking into Indian social structure, and they were able to try to shift from cattle breeding to this agriculture and other occupations. Therefore, they were interested to try to develop this, and the socio-economic condition of that period, or socio-economic condition of that Indian society where they lived, which made them to try to develop close, intimate contact with the Indians who used to live here. So, this close contact, intimate contact, or the relation what they have developed with the people who used to reside here, this made them to try to have assimilation of the culture of Aryans and the culture of Indians. In the sense, Aryan religious activities their institutional aspects, their customs, their traditions, their nature, their behavior, which are all influenced by that. A type of assimilation means whatever the good things we find outside, we may try to be attracted and we may try to follow. In the same way, what Aryans have done, the same thing. They taken up some of the traditions of the Indians, and Indians who used to live here because of the contact with the Aryans, these people have imitated some of the things from them. So ultimately, this Aryan culture, which was able to become rich, which was able to develop, and this Aryan culture which is able to find good lot of changes due to this. So these Aryans were very strong, were able to develop or spread their culture, and they are able to try to spread this culture almost all the parts of Indian society. And this spread of Aryan culture, that is assimilated culture, Aryan culture and Indian, what is assimilated, this is spread almost all the parts of the Indian society. This is called as Aryanization process. Or in other words, Aryanization process means the new Aryan culture, their customs, their traditions, their institutional aspects, their nature, their behavior, their activity, their religious beliefs, their customs, whatever that are all found, these are all able to spread almost all the parts of Indian society, which may be called as Aryanization process. Then the practice of endogamy and elementary notions of ritual purity pollution. See, these Aryans, they used to try to maintain ritual purity. They are highly religious people. They perform rituals, and while performing the rituals and ceremonies, they used to try to maintain purity. So here, purity and pollution, which used to play an important role, which is governed the physical contact, commensal relations of the Aryans. So the practice, this practice led to origin of various varnas, and later it has been evolved into caste. So their rigid rules, regulations, which made a chance to try to emerge different varnas or origin of different varnas, and later these varnas which were evolved into castes. The social framework of Indian society began to take shape when the Aryans were divided into three groups. The social framework of Indian society which began to take shape when Aryans were divided into three groups. Those three groups were called Rajanya, then Brahmana, and Vaishya. These were the three groups that were existed among the Aryans. Rajanya, which is called as warriors, Brahmana, who are called as priests, and Vaishyas were cultivators and traders. So here, among the Aryans, based on the necessity and need of society, these three groups were existed called Rajanya. So what is this? What is the necessity of this? See, Rajanya group who are called warriors. What they have to do? Here, protecting the country, protecting the nation, or to try to provide protection to the people must be ready to try to fight. Or in other words, some other people may come and attack, or the others may acquire. So therefore, to try to protect from such danger, to protect the people, there must be a group, and that group was called as Rajanya, warriors, who are ready to fight at any time, that they are able to try to provide protection to the people, they are able to try to provide security to the people. So that group was called as Rajanya. So their duty is to try to protect the people, protect the country, protect the provinces, protect the things. And second, Brahmana. See here already that we have said, these Aryans were highly religious. They maintain purity pollution. So therefore, to try to perform these religious rites, there must be priests. All people cannot perform this, or all people may not be interested in it. Therefore, some people were able to take up the priests. So here, to perform a priestly activity, to perform religious rites, to perform religious rituals, these Brahmana were ready. So therefore, their task is to try to perform these religious duties, and they have to work for the betterment of all. These Rajanya, they have to work for the control of all. Here these people have to worship the God, perform priestly activity for the betterment of all. And then Vaishya. See here, these people who are called as cultivators and traders. See here, every people want to have food. Brahmana, they may not produce food. Rajanya, they may not produce food because their task is totally different. Now we want food, and therefore the task what is performed by this Vaishya is to try to engage in cultivation. And the cultivated or produced goods, produced things, produced whatever the food items, whatever produced by them, which are to be distributed to others. In the sense, those are in need. It's a duty of Vaishyas to produce food, to produce the things and supply it to all people of the society. Accordingly, Vaishya group were engaged in cultivation and trade. But these three groups, what is called Rajanya, Brahmana, Vaishya, were called twice born. What's called twice born? See, twice born means these people, Rajanya, Brahmana, Vaishya, are made to undergo the ceremony of Upanayana or initiation. So, the people who are undergoing the ceremony of initiation or Upanayana were called as twice born. Why it is called, they are called as twice born, or why that name is given to it? Twice born in the sense, when Upanayana or this initiation ceremony is performed, after this initiation, the people who are able to undergo this initiation ceremony, after that they are going to try to engage into their educational life later. You know, society, they have to enter it later. So, this twice born status is assigned only to these three categories. And fourth Varna, called Shudra. This was existed from non-Aryan groups. So, these three groups, Rajanya, Brahmana, Vaishya, were existed from Aryans. Therefore, the Aryans were permitted to undergo the ceremony of initiation, that they were called as twice born, and they were given the twice born status. And the fourth group called Shudra, who are non-Aryans, who were given the task, or they have preferred to try to engage in manual labor. Manual labor. See here, while performing the task of these warriors or priestly class or cultivation and traders, in these tasks they want to try to have or get help. If they want help, these Shudras must be ready. So, the Shudra group which was existed from non-Aryan group who were denied this twice born status. Twice born status is assigned only to Aryan groups called Rajanya, Brahmana, Vaishya, and non-Aryan group called Shudra, which was denied this twice-born status. They were not permitted to undergo the ceremony of initiation, and therefore the education called at that time Vedic education was denied. So these 4 varnas were existed, and first 3 varnas called Rajanya, Brahmana, Vaishya were called Trivarnas or Trivargas. They were called as Trivarnas or Trivargas, and all the 3 existed from Aryans. And the 4th, when it has joined, it was together called as Chaturvarna system. So Varna scheme therefore exists like this, and gradually in society, social changes used to take place. According to these social changes, the warriors class called Rajanya were in the beginning placed on the top and followed by Brahmana and followed by Vaishya. Now, the Rajanya group called warriors have lost their importance, and this Brahmana, which was able to occupy the first place, in the sense, the belief of the people, the need of the people or interest of the people, which was able to try to have importance or give importance to worship of God. People were able to try to feel important, that is important. Therefore, Brahmana, whose existence was considered as important, and they have occupied the first place. So, instead of Rajanya, Brahmana Varna, which is able to get first place. So, Rajanya then has got second place. So, the Brahmana, when this priestly work, performing religious rites, performing religious ceremonies, what was considered as important by the people than that of the warriors. Therefore, this Brahmana Varna, which is able to be placed on the first, and then Rajanya. So, therefore, under Varna scheme, Brahmana, which is able to occupy the first place, then Rajanya, that itself is called Kshatriya. Later, they are called as Kshatriya. Rajanya or Kshatriya. So, the another name to this is called Kshatriya. So, first one Brahmana, second one Rajanya or Kshatriya, third one Vaishya, and fourth one Shudra. So, like this, the Chaturvarna scheme, Chaturvarna system, which was existed. And what has happened later? These Varnas, which were provided with some specific task, Brahmana, priests, Kshatriya, warriors, Vaishya, cultivators and traders, or Shudra, manual labor. Or in other words, Brahmana were made to try to engage in teaching and preaching. Kshatriya, fighting. Warriors, their task is fighting. Vaishya, who were made to try to engage in trade, commerce, business, agriculture. And the Shudra, manual labor. And these professions or these tasks of these Varnas were optional at present in the beginning. But gradually, though there were options, though there were choice, people never used to prefer the choice. In a sense, what parents used to perform the task, the same task was followed by their children, followed by their grandchildren. So, these have become hereditary. So, Brahmana Varna, whose children, the people who are coming under Brahmana Varna, their children have preferred priestly class. Their grandchildren once again become the priests, and this has become hereditary. Gradually, when all the tasks called Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and the tasks what are performed by them, which has become hereditary, now the people called these Varna groups gradually started to try to impose restrictions on them, impose different type of restrictions, including matrimonial alliances. In the beginning or previously, there were no differences. Matrimonial alliances used to take place. But now, when the matrimonial alliances are restricted, a Brahmana is made to try to get married from Brahmana Varna only, Kshatriyas Kshatriya Varna only, Vaishyas Vaishya Varna only, or Shudras Shudra Varna only. Though there was choice in the beginning, all of a sudden the restrictions were imposed by the society or by these Varnas. People were not ready to accept immediately. So, intervarna matrimonial alliances still continued. It was permitted in the beginning. Before these restrictions, which were professions becoming hereditary, it was no restriction. So, the restrictions what are imposed are not followed by the people. In the previous time, what the people used to try to prefer their life partner from other varnas, the same thing has been continued. Now, society was under confusion. The people were under confusion. What can be done? The rules what are made by the people or by the varnas have been violated, not followed by the people, and therefore what can be done? Confusion. So ultimately, the learned, intelligent people, clever people were joined together, sit together and discuss about this, and ultimately they are able to come to the conclusion that the people who preferred pratiloma marriages were prohibited, restricted. Anuloma form of marriages can be accepted. In the sense, what is called anuloma? What is called pratiloma? Anuloma marriage means a person from his own status married to higher status man. A lady or a woman from low status married to high status man, it is called anuloma. A woman who has married from low status to high status, it is called anuloma. Pratiloma, in a sense, high status woman married to low status man. So, when a low status woman preferred her life partner, or a man who preferred his life partner from low status woman, it is accepted. The people are able to come to the conclusion that this can be accepted, this can be tolerated. This can be tolerated. And the people who preferred pratiloma form of marriage means high status woman, low status man. Pratiloma form of marriage, it was condemned, it was degraded, it was discriminated, they are differentiated, they are kept outside from society. They are made to deviate from these groups. They are made to deviate from those groups. And among them especially, a Brahmin female, Brahmana Varna which is on the top, a Brahmin female who has married to Shudra male. That means highest status man, highest status of woman, lowest status man. If they are married, the people have able to come to the conclusion that the people of this type of marriage you have preferred, they are totally degraded and they were considered as Panchama, so fifth group that has existed. Therefore, Brahmana is on the top, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and then Panchamas. Or they were also called as Avarnas, Atishudras, or they are below than that of the four Varnas, therefore they were regarded as Avarnas. Later they are called as untouchables. So, this group later scheduled castes, fifth group. So, therefore, this Pratiloma form of marriage where a Brahmin female married to a Shudra male, which made an opportunity for the emergence of a new community, which is called as this fifth group, Panchama. So, like this here, in the beginning there were three Varnas, then fourth Varna, which is from non-Aryan category, which is able to exist, and fifth group, and once again, still, the inter-Varna marriages have not stopped. Though there were restrictions, there are rules followers, rules violators. in his society that you can find even today. We can find some people are going to follow, adhere to the rules, some people are going to violate the rules. So still such marriages have been continued, and therefore the fifth group, then sixth group or seventh group, like this, ultimately it is able to take the shape of a caste. Therefore, good lot of castes which were emerged or evolved from this Varna scheme. So like this here, this Varna scheme which was existed in Indian society and under Indian civilization.